Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Welcome to the microbiology lecture series. Today we are going to discuss lecture number 5, and the title is Nomenclature and Classification of Microorganisms. So let's start. There are certain definitions you must know about. So first one, what is nomenclature? Nomenclature is naming an organism by international rules according to its characteristics. In the nomenclature, the name is given to the organism as per international rules based upon its characteristics. Second one is classification. It is defined as the arrangement of organisms into taxonomic groups, which are called taxa, on the basis of similarities or relationships. In the classification, we tend to arrange or organize organisms into different groups, which are called taxa, and this arrangement is based upon certain similarities or relationships that these organisms do share. Now move the third definition, taxonomy. So taxonomy is defined as the science of classification that deals with the systematic arrangement of related microorganisms and other living organisms into logical categories. So these were the definitions. Now, what is the importance of the taxonomy? So first one, taxonomy is important. It is essential to understand the relationship among related microorganisms, because microorganisms, they are categorized based upon or sharing their similar characteristics. These are called related microorganisms. So the first most important function of the taxonomy is that it is important to understand as far as the relationship among related microorganisms are concerned. Second way, taxonomy is a way to provide universal identification of an organism, because organisms, they are grouped together based upon their mutual similar characteristics. So these similar characteristics, they actually represent their identification codes or identification mark. Since this is globally accepted, as a result, we can say that it provides us universal identification of an organism. Third is, this taxonomy shows evolutionary relationships and history among organisms. And last but not the least, it allows biologists to group related microorganisms on the basis of their similar characters. This is the importance of taxonomy. Origin of names. Aristotle, a Greek philosopher, first of all gave the idea of classification, and he classified into two major groups, plant or animal, and he further grouped plant or animals with respect to their habitat. These are called land dwellers, which are remaining or present on the land, air dwellers, which remain or which are present in the air, and water dwellers present in the water. Land, air, or water dwellers of either animals or the plants. The animals present in the land, air, water, plant remains are present in the land, air, water. This origin name, the first ever classification mode, is given by the Aristotle, a Greek philosopher, into two major groups, plant and animal. Later on, scientists, they have tried to classify living creatures on the basis of their movement, locomotion, and then they grouped as far as locomotion is concerned and divide butterflies and the birds, they are flying in nature. So after Aristotle, the other scientists, they also classify, but their mode of classification was locomotion, the movement, and as far as the flying, it is also the part of locomotory system. then they classify butterflies and pets. However, a Swedish botanist, Linnaeus, his work was greatly acknowledged and got repute and fame. He developed his naming system in the mid 1700s, which is essentially the same one used today. One of his books, Systema Naturae, meaning the natural classification, he published it in 1735, and one can easily understand God by studying his creation, because Systema Naturae, the natural classification, published in 1735 by Linnaeus, also describe his religious beliefs. Sources of origin of names. Today, microorganisms names originate from 4 different sources. One is called descriptive. This means that when we look at the name of the microorganism, it gives literal explanation. The name indicates the meanings. This is called descriptive sense. For example, Staphylococcus aureus. Staphylococcus, it has its literal meaning. Aureus also has its literal meaning. Staphylococcus means grape-like cluster of spheres. Aureus, it means yellow or golden color. So it means when we look at the name Staphylococcus aureus, it is self-explanatory due to its descriptive nature that these are representing themselves as a grape-like cluster and their color is golden or yellowish. Scientist name. Sometimes the names of the microorganism, they are given to honor the scientist who first of all identified it. For example, Escherichia coli, it is gram-negative bacteria. But Escherichia coli, this name is actually tribute or honor to the scientist Escherichia Theodore Escherichia, the name of the scientist who first of all identified or isolated Escherichia from the colon or intestine, and also this honor is given to the Escherichia. As a result, now this microorganism or bacteria is called Escherichia coli. Similarly, Neisseria. Neisseria, basically, it is in Albert Neisser, first of all, isolated or identified it. So, honor is given to the Albert Neisser, and this whole group is called Neisseria. Similarly, Listeria. Joseph Lister, the first person who is capable to identify Listeria. As a result, an honor is given to the Joseph Lister, and this group or this genus is now called Listeria. So this is the second way. First, descriptive. The name indicate literal meanings. For example, Staphylococcus aureus, so grape-like cluster, Staphylococcus, and golden aureus. Scientist name, the name of the microorganism represents actually the name of its developer, name of its identifier. Escherichia coli, Theodore Escherichia, who identified it, so given the name Escherichia coli as an honor to the Theodore Escherichia. Similarly, Neisseria, an honor to the Albert Neisser. Listeria, an honor to the Joseph Lister. Third, geographic places. Sometimes microbes, they are isolated from certain places, and as a result, in order to give the names, that place is also included so that it gives us clue that this microorganism is actually isolated from that place. So this is called geographical places. For example, Legionella Long Beach, California. So Legionella bacteria is isolated or found in Long Beach, California. So due to this geographic place, the name is given. Pseudomonas fairmontensis, Fairmount Park, Pennsylvania. So this Pseudomonas fairmontensis, this bacteria, it was isolated in Pennsylvania, Fairmount Park. So as a result, due to geographical place from where it is isolated, the name is given. This is the third way that how we give the names, sources of origins. Then organization. Sometimes the microbes are given the names which give an honor or representation to the organization from where it is isolated. For example, Legionella, American Legion. This is in war times, the veteran organization, American Legion. From there, Legionella, it was isolated or identified. So the name Legionella actually represents the name of the organization from which this bacteria was isolated. CDC species, Center for Disease Control. C, Center for D, disease, and C, control. Center for Disease Control. So again, these species were isolated from Center for Disease Control, USA, and as a result, the name is given as far as respective organization is concerned. Bilophila wordsworthia. Bilophila wordsworthia. VA Wordsworth Medical Center in the Los Angeles. So this organization from the Los Angeles, from where this organism was isolated, so the tribute or the honor is given to that organization. It means that as far as the sources or the origins of the names are concerned, we have 4 different modes. One is called descriptive, which actually describe the meaning of the microorganism. For example, Staphylococcus aureus, grape-like cluster, and aureus means golden. Then scientist name, an honor to the scientist who first of all identified it. For example, Escherichia coli, Theodore Escherichia. Sometimes the name is given according to the geographical place from which this organism is isolated. For example, Legionella Long Beach, California. Sometimes the organizations which are responsible for the isolation of the microorganism, the name is given, and in the name, the organization name is also included. For example, Legionella and CDC species. So these are the sources. Now the taxonomy. 8 successive taxa are used to classify each species. When we classify the microbes, we have to follow these successive taxas. Their numbers are 8, starting from domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. These 8 successive groups are taxa. They are actually used to classify each species. Starting from domain up to the species, 8 consecutive successive taxa. Species can also contain different subspecies or strains. After species, there are certain subspecies, and even after subspecies, there are certain strains. We will describe these, what is meant by subspecies or the strains later on. So first you must know, as far as taxonomy is concerned, each species is actually describe or depicts 8 successive taxa: domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. So let's take one example of the bacteria and place in these successive taxa so it would be more clear. We take here the examples of a bacteria present in the yogurt production. So domain is bacteria, kingdom is also bacteria, phylum is Firmicutes, class Bacilli, order Lactobacillales, family Lactobacillacea, genus Lactobacillus, species Lactobacillus delbrueckii, and subspecies Lactobacillus delbrueckii bulgaricus. So this is the naming system. That let's suppose yogurt production, one bacteria which is rod bacilli is used. So because it is bacteria, so domain and kingdom is bacteria. It belongs to the phylum Firmicutes. It is Bacillus. Order the name is Lactobacilli, Bacillale, family Lactobacillacea, genus Lactobacillus, species Lactobacillus delbrueckii, and subspecies Lactobacillus delbrueckii bulgaricus. Now we discuss rules of nomenclature, how we can give the names. So first one is use binary names. As the name indicates, binary names, it means that the name will be composed of two words. So binary names, first of all, they are invented by Linnaeus, and it is composed of two names. First name is called genus name, and other name is called species name. So genus name is also called generic name, and species name is also called species epithet or specific epithet. So these are interchangeably used. Generic name is called genus name. Specific epithet or species epithet is called species name. So first there will be name of the in the binary system. The first name will be genus name, and the second name will be the species name. So this is the binary names system. It is invented by Linnaeus. It is composed of two names. First will be the generic or genus name, and second will be the specific epithet or species name. For example, Escherichia coli. In this one, Escherichia is generic name or genus name, and the second coli is the species name. So it means first there will be genus name, and second there will be the species name. So all the organisms, when we give them the names, and if we use the binary name system, then keep in mind, just like E. coli or Escherichia coli, it will be composed of two words. First word, first name, it will discuss generic or genus name, while the second, it will give the species name or specific epithet name. Names of the categories at or above the genus level may be used alone, but species and subspecies names may not. In other words, never use species name alone. Above genus or F2. Above genus, there is class, order, phylum, family. These are above genus. So in case of order, just like in the previous example, we have discussed Lactobacillale. So you can give single name. Name of categories at or above the genus name may be used alone. Single word could be used. Single name could be used above the genus or up to genus. But the species and subspecies, for them, they are never used as a single name, or alone they are not used. When to capitalize? In the binary system, two names are given. First name is called genus name or generic name, and other name is called species name. So the genus name, it is always capital, while the species name, it is never capitalized. It will be lowercase. You can see here the name Bacillus anthracis. Bacillus anthracis. Now this is Bacillus, it represents genus name. Anthracis, it represents species name. So according to rule, the first name, the genus name, it will be capital. So B is capital, while the species, it is not capitalized. Anthracis, A is small. So in the binary system, when two names are given, the first genus name first letter will be capital, while the species name, it will not be capital. So this is the rule when to capitalize. When to italicize. All the texts, starting from the domain, then the file kingdom, then the phylum, then the family, then the class, then the order, then the family, then the genus, then the species. These are called taxa. All the taxa names, they are printed in italics. When you are typing in the computer, this is printing, it will be italic and should be underlined if handwritten. And if you are going to write it by hand, then because it is impossible to italicize it, so you will underline. But in the computer, the option is there. Italics option is there. So all the taxa names, they are italicized. That these are names, they will be written, they will be printed in italics. However, strain designations and the numbers, they are not italicized. Keep in your mind. All the taxas, starting from the domain, then the kingdom, then the phylum, then the class, then the order, then the family, then the genus, then the species, all will be written in italics while you are going to write or print them in the computer. But the strain designation and the strain numbers, they are not italicized. However, if all the surrounding text is italic, then binary name would be non-italic. Means non-italic means which font is to be used? New Times Roman. Roman typeface or underline if you are going to write it via hand. For example, a common cause of diarrhea is E. coli 0157, a gram-negative bacillus. Now, if you observe here, a common cause of diarrhea is then a gram-negative bacilli. This is called the surrounding text. It is, here is the binary name, here is the strain number. So rule is, if surrounding text is italic, this is italic, a common cause of diarrhea is, and then a gram-negative bacillus, this is surrounding text. This is italic. If this is italic, then binary name, it is not italic. It will be in the New Times Roman or Roman typeface. Font used will be New Times Roman. So this is, you can observe, this is italic, but this is not italic. This is strain number. We will explain what is strain. Up till now, you only focus over here. This is the binary name. This is the genus name, Escherichia coli. This is species name. This is the strain name. So simple rule, when to italicize? When you are going to write the names of all taxa in the computer, then you will italicize them. If you are handwritten, then underline it. However, strain designation or numbers, they are not italicized. First one. Second, if all the surrounding text is italic, then binary name, it would be non-italic. Which font is to be used? New Times Roman. For example, a common cause of diarrhea is E. coli 0157. This is strain number, a gram-negative bacilli. This is the surrounding text. It is italicized. So the binary name and the strain number, it would be non-italic and it would be New Times Roman font. When to use initials? You know, let's suppose you are writing a paper or you are attempting a paper, and again you have to write the same name, for example, Staphylococcus aureus, or you say that Escherichia coli. So the first of all, you in the first time, you will have to write the full name, and then afterwards, if there is repetition in the paper, if there is repetition in the document, then you will have to use initial. But first of all, first time you will have to write the full name. So you know that in the binary system, first name represents the genus name or generic name, and then it is preceded by species name or specific epithet. So we can say a specific epithet must be preceded by a generic name written out in full the first time it is used in the paper. First time the whole name, full genus name and full species name will be written. Thereafter, the genus name, the first name, it would be abbreviated to the initial capital letter. For example, E. coli. First of, if there is repetition in the document, if in the paper, if in the question, again and again, different times Escherichia coli is coming. So the first time you will completely write Escherichia coli, and afterwards, the first name of the first name is genus and the genus first name is E. So only you will abbreviate it E. coli. So this E means Escherichia. So first time, this is called initial abbreviations. First time you will have to write full name of genus, full name of species. But the second time and onwards, only the genus name first initial capital letter it is given and species name is full. So we can say E. coli. Provided there can be no confusion with the other genera used in the paper. However, be careful with the S words because Salmonella, Shigella, Serratia, Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, they are interchangeably used words. So if only Salmonella or only Shigella or only of these are used in the documents, then you can use this one. However, if all these are present, then you will have to specify each and every individual because there is confusion because all starts from the S. So this is when to use initials. So it is clear that the first time you will have to write full name of genus and full name of the species, and later on if the same name is repeated again and again in the document or in the paper or in the question, the first name, the genus name, the first word of the genus name is written in capital letter while the species name is full. This is called abbreviation rule. Common names. Vernacular names means common names should be in lowercase, Roman type, non-italic. Keep in your mind. These are the computer words. Lowercase means no capital words. All small words, lowercase. Roman type, the font used will be New Times Roman. And non-italic, they will not be italic. For example, Streptococcus. For example, Brucella. Now you can Streptococcus. Every in this Streptococcus word, every word is in lowercase, small. Even the first word, S, it is not capital because these are common names. Brucella is common name. Again, B is small. So it will be lowercase, small. Every one is small. It is not italic. And it is, the font is used is New Times Roman. However, when referring to the actual genus name or above, always capitalize and italicize. These are the vernacular names. However, when referring to the actual genus name or above, always capitalize and italicize. Above genus, there is family, then there is order, there is class, there is final. Above genus, when you will use, so you will have to capitalize as well as italicize. But in case of common names, no capitalize, non-italicize, New Times Roman, and lowercase will be used. Subspecies and serowords. What are serowords? A subspecies that can show differences in antigenic makeup. These are called serowords. Species and subspecies. After species, the smaller group of species is called subspecies. And then if the subspecies, they are different with respect to antigenic structure, then these subspecies are called serowords. Now, what is the naming system as far as subspecies and serowords are concerned? For Salmonella, this is genus. Genus, species, and subspecies names should be rendered in standard form like Salmonella enterica at first use. First of all, Salmonella enterica. This is the genus, first name is genus name, other is species name. As I told you in the binary name, the genus first name, first word will be capital, S is capital, while the species name is never capital, so it is small, lowercase. So first time when you will use that full name is given, Salmonella enterica. However, if this same word is repeated in the document, then you can abbreviate is S. enterica. So S. enterica thereafter. If there is repetition, then you can abbreviate it. The name of the genus is abbreviated. Salmonella enterica subspecies. If this, in this case, this is genus and this is species. However, if subspecies is also included, then first time again, you will have to write full name, binary name, genus, species, and then you will have to write the subspecies Arizoni. So we will read it. Salmonella enterica subspecies Arizoni at first use, and if same is used repeated in the document, then we will use S. enterica subspecies Arizoni thereafter. So this is the nomenclature of subspecies and serowords. So what are serowords? Basically, they are subspecies, but these subspecies, they are different with respect to antigenic makeup. Abbreviations for species. SP for a particular species. Use SP for a particular species, and SPP or SPP for several species. This is plural. SPP, species, several species. Only SP, particular species. These abbreviations are not italicized. Clostridium species or Clostridium species. Only particular species, Clostridium species. So you can see it. It is not italicized. It is New Times Roman format or font, or Clostridium species. So if SP is written, it represents particular species, and SPP is present, it means they are representing several species. Other abbreviations, for example, EG. It means literally, for example, it comes from the Latin exempli gratia, exempli gratia, and it means, for example, I.E, meaning that is, and it is from the Latin id est. Id est. Note that is specifies particular things, whereas EG gives examples, exempli gratia. This represents examples, and this represents or specifies particular things. ETC, etc., meaning and so forth. From the Latin etc. Et al. Et al. Meaning and others. From the Latin word et alia, and use this only when citing references. You are still young enough. When you will enrolled in the MPhil and PhD, then you will write what is reference citations. So et al, it is used there. However, these are the abbreviation you will have to keep in your mind. Plural forms. Plural of genus is genera. Plural of species is species. SP, particular species. SPP, several species. Plural of medium is media. Never say this culture media. You will have to see culture medium. Or when you use media, then you will cultures media. Plural of fungus is called fungi. Plural of coccus is cocci. Plural of bacillus is bacilli. Plural of bacterium is bacteria. Plural of algae is algae, and plural of protozoan is protozoa. Next we have 5 kingdom based on nutrient procurement. First of all, this concept of 5 kingdom, it was given by Robert Whittaker in 1969, and he divided organisms into 5 kingdoms. These are Plantae, Animalia, fungi, protozoa, and prokaryotes. And this classification into 5 kingdom, it is based on the nutrient procurement. Plantae, plants, multicellular, and they are photoautotrophs. They can synthesize their food via sunlight, photoautotrophs, nutrient procurement. Animalia, ingestive, they can ingest the food. Fungi or fungi, they are absorptive. They absorb the food material in the form of, they imbibe, they absorb, so they are absorptive in nature. Protozoa, mostly single-celled, and prokaryotes, bacteria. This is the 5 kingdom based on nutrient procurement designed a device by Robert Whittaker in 1969. 3 domains. This system is based upon similarities in ribosomal RNA. According to this system, living organisms are classified into 3 domains. The first taxa of the classification is domain, then kingdom, then the phylum, then the class, then the order, then the family, then the genus, and then the species, and then subspecies. So the domains, first of all, 3 domain system, it is actually based upon the classification into respective 3 domains, and these organisms placed in these 3 domains with respect to they are sharing mutual similarities as far as ribosomal RNA is concerned. Eukarya, in this domain, plants, animals, fungi, and protozoa, they are present, they are placed in the domain Eukarya on the basis of similarities in all the plants, all the animals, all the fungi, and all the protists within their specific groups. They share similarities in ribosomal RNA. Plants, they share similar ribosomal RNA sequence. Animals, they share similar RNA sequence. Fungi and protists, their further members, they also share similarities in ribosomal RNA. Bacteria, they contain peptidoglycan cell wall. So all the bacteria in the separate domain, and archaea with unusual cell walls and membranes. Here is the 3 domain system illustration in the form of this picture, this diagram. The key concept, again, as I told you, this is based on similarities in ribosomal RNA. Living organisms are classified into 3 domains: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. All organisms evolved from the cells that formed over 3 billion years ago. The DNA passed on from ancestors is described as conserved. It means that it can pass from one generation to other and from next generation to the next generation and so on. So it means that since DNA is present in each and every generation, so we can say that DNA is conserved. The domain Eukarya includes the kingdom fungi, plantae, and animalia. It also includes the protists. However, this is the bacteria, and if you observe this one, these are gram-negative bacteria, gram-positive bacteria. They contain mitochondria. Some are called cyanobacteria. They also contain chlorophyll or chloroplast. And thermogota, they can grow even up to 60 and even above degrees centigrade. So thermogota. So these are the bacteria. Then archaea, 3 domain system. Second, archaea, some are methanogens, which can produce methane as a metabolic byproduct. Extreme halophiles, which can grow in the presence of a high level of salt, sodium chloride. These are extreme halophiles. Hyperthermophiles, which can survive in the highest temperatures. So these are archaea. Similarly, eukarya, the major groups are fungi, animals, and plants, and then they are further classified into euglenozoa, ciliates, plasmodium slime molds, microspora, archezoa, cellular slime molds, omycotas, amoebas, and chromistas. These are the further subs. We don't have to focus over all these because some terms they are used in the botany and some terms used as far as the zoological part is concerned, but we have to focus over. So generally, eukarya and archaea and bacteria, these are the 3 domain system. And this is actually the key concept, that these are grouped into respective 3 domains based upon sharing similar characteristics as far as their ribosomal RNA is concerned. Now, we have discussed eukarya species. So there are different types of the species, because some cells are prokaryotes, some are eukaryotes. Similarly, viruses are present. So what are eukaryotic species? A group of closely related organisms that interbreed among themselves. Interbreed means have productive sex, which can fertilize and produce offsprings. So these are eukaryotic species. One is parent, and then there are offsprings. Offsprings are called species of the father, of the parents. So these are closely related organisms that due to productive sex provide or produce similar organisms. So this is eukaryotic species. However, prokaryotic species, a population of cells with similar characteristics. A population of cells with similar characteristics, it is a definition of prokaryotic species. Then what is clone? Population of cells derived from single cell. From the single cells, when the numerous cells originate, then this is called clone. What is strain? Genetically different cells within a clone. Because what is clone? From the single cells, emergence of different cells, it is called clone. And if there is genetic difference within the clone, then this is called strain. And culture, you know that on the solid media, they are grown in the lab or in the laboratory outside in vitro conditions we can grow. Viral species, population of viruses with similar characteristics that occupies a particular ecological niche. The word is niche. What is ecological niche? In ecology, a niche is the match of species to a specific environmental condition. It means that when we say viral species, it means they belong to one major virus, and these represent the groups represent the major parent or the virus, and that live in a particular niche, means particular environmental condition. So this is a species. So I think it is clear, the nomenclature and classification. So thank you. Wait for the next lecture, lecture number 6. Till that, Allah Hafiz.